We have with us today Evelyn Marios. Evelyn is the marriage and family therapist who works at Rolling Hills Middle School with our school-based mental health services. Evelyn, tell us about your program.
Okay, well, basically this was in 2011. It's kind of broken down into two parts. When I first went onto the campus there at Rolling Hills Middle School, we decided that I would serve children individually. There were also two other clinicians working at the school. So I was there a day and a half. The other clinicians were there a day each. So we identified children by asking parents if they wanted us to see their children, as well as teachers. We asked teachers to recommend children to be seen based on any concerns they might have. The school counselor and the principal were wonderful. They worked very closely with me. So the school counselor also had some children she was concerned about. Now, there was a lot of setup time. You know, we had to get permission slips for the children to be seen. So that was a challenge. That took a lot of our time. The emails were good that were sent out from the school. But I found that some of the parents were a little hesitant. They were concerned when their child was brought up to be seen by a teacher or by the school counselor. So I did encounter a little bit of defensiveness on some of the parents' part. It was different when the parents were calling saying, "Can you see my child?" But so that took a while to set everything up. But we did then in the month of April, May, and until school ended in June, see children individually. And there were a lot of need. The need is a lot greater than you might think. At middle school, there's a lot of pressures from home, family life, and peer pressures. So I would say I served about 20 children on an individual basis during that time. Then in the fall, when we started up again, we decided to do groups to try to serve more children. So I saw 46 children total with the groups. So the way we did that is that the school counselor went into the classrooms and talked about the different groups we were going to have. And so children could sign up for them. And that seemed to work a lot better. Also, the notices were sent out to the schools, but we dropped the idea of contacting parents and telling them that the staff had concerns. That didn't seem to be the best way to approach them. So that seemed to go a lot better.
Yeah, tell us about the types of groups.
Okay. Well, I came up with some fun names, like Beating the Stress Monster was one of them, for example. But basically the groups were broken down into, we had a group for children that were experiencing stress from family life, a lot of divorced parents or separated parents. So that was a specific group. And then we had a group called the Happiness Group or something like that. But it was really based on how to deal with stress, how to problem solve, and how to cope with problems. Then we also had another group on peer relationships. So we focused a lot on communication, boundaries, how you have relationships in a healthy way. And the kids seemed pretty motivated. The school was just great. They had wonderful facilities set aside. I had a wonderful group room that was confidential, an office that was confidential. Anything I needed, they were very, very responsive and supportive. I also did a staff training for the teachers, talked to them about how to identify mental health problems because they don't always look like mental health problems. Sometimes they look like behavior problems. The staff was very receptive, so I'd say it was very, very successful.
Great. Were you able to address bullying with this age group?
Yeah, so I didn't do a group specifically on bullying. The school counselor had one specifically for that. She was doing some other groups as well. But the group that was based on peer relationships did address that and what to do and how to handle it.
Nice. Great. So do you believe that having school-based services like this help to reduce some of the stigma attached with mental health?
I think definitely so, yes. And, you know, we approached it in a very positive way, not as anything negative or that there was anything wrong with people, but something that would help them be happier and be able to deal with things better. And I think so. It was interesting in the groups as well. There were some children that were identified as being bullies in the group on peer relationships. And I thought it was really good for them too, to learn how not to be bullies, basically, in a more positive way.
Great. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and that age group is such a hard time for most teens. Their bodies are
Very.
changing. They're they're really vulnerable because
Yes.
of the hormones and everything that are
Right.
changing in their lives. And like you say, when you add other stressors onto that, whether it's the economy or family issues, it can be a really traumatic time.
Absolutely, yeah. You might not imagine. It's kind of sad, but it's true. It's a very difficult age to be.
It's a difficult age to be. So how are you able to fund this program? I know with the schools cutting back on all of their extracurricular services.
Yes, absolutely. You know, this type of service wouldn't be possible without the extra funding that the El Dorado Hills Vision Coalition brought in, because the school counselor there is so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
There's just one person, and my goodness, she was just, I felt sorry for her, because, not only did she have to do the day-to-day duties, but there were always crises that came up.
Right.
And it was nice to be there at times to kind of add to that. But I'm sure that these children that were served never would have been if it were up to the school budget, because that's just not possible.
Would you like to see this kind of activity continue?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think it's very important, and I think it does contribute overall to the community sense of well-being, because when the children are stressed out, the families are stressed out, and there really aren't resources for them to go to, or the stigma prevents them. That's the other thing.
Right.
Sometimes school-based services are seen in a much more open way, because this is where the children are. They're not going to a separate treatment facility, and it's a lot easier on everyone to think, oh, they're just being helped at the school, versus, well, they're going into a clinic or another setting.
Exactly. Something new and different can be scary.
Yeah.
Well, that's so important. You've done some other work with the coalition, trying to effect policy. Can you tell us about some of that, some of the meetings?
Oh, there's a lot of meetings going on. There's funding available that takes absolutely time and effort to pursue. There's also, need for community awareness and education, which the Vision Coalition has done a wonderful job of doing. You wouldn't think in a community such as ours that there are serious problems, but there are. Socioeconomically, there's even a range. You think it's an affluent community and maybe there's less problems, but it isn't true, unfortunately.
Right. That's right. Anything else you want to add, or future hopes, or?
Well, I really hope that this type of program can continue. I hope it can grow here in El Dorado Hills. It's very needed. And I'm very much in support of school-based services. I think this is where you reach the children that really need it.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.